In the interest of accuracy, and to hopefully quiet some of the nagging feelings of ineptitude that seem to plague my daily existence, I thought I'd take a minute to go back through Season 4 so far and correct all the many, many mistakes that I've made up to now. Or at least the ones I can identify. Nina Hagen joined an East German pop group called Automobil, and they had a pretty decent-sized hit with a tune called Du hast den Farbfilm vergessen. I mispronounced the name of the big hit single by Automobil. It should actually have been pronounced Du hast den Farbfilm vergessen, not vergessen. Not sure where Move is from originally, but I first heard it on the Lou Donaldson album Blues Walk. Somehow I completely spaced on the origins of the song Move. I just stated that I had first heard it performed by Lou Donaldson when actually I had heard it decades before on Birth of the Cool by Miles Davis and Gil Evans. In my defense, ever since meeting Johnny Vidakovich a few years ago, I've been spending a lot more times with New Orleans jazz in particular, but also soul jazz in general, which means a lot more time with the works of Lou Donaldson. But the big thing I missed in this episode concerns the Sonny Rollins cover on Art Pepper Plus 11. And Arain is Sonny Rollins. This is my first real book. I bought it new in 1988. It's the legal real book because I didn't know anyone that would copy me the real book in 1988, and I've used this my whole adult life. And no fooling, each and every time I looked at this first chart in the real book, my semi-dyslexic brain read this as Arain. I legitimately thought it was a pun, a lordship over the air rain. Get it? It wasn't until after I published the video that it was pointed out to me that no, the song title is the word Nigeria spelled backwards. I don't see any of those instruments listed as being one that was performed by D. Long, John Wallace-Chuck, or Terry Draper. So I can only assume that they got individual members of the London Symphony to play those parts. According to a brief correspondence that I had with Klaatu's Terry Draper after the video was released, it was not the London Symphony Orchestra, it was the London Philharmonic.
One band they often backed up and were great friends with was Rush. Rush played on their album A Million Vacations, I think on the tune Battle Scar.
The album A Million Vacations by Max Webster was released in 1979 on Anthem Records. It was co-produced by Max Webster and John Denotbeck and recorded at Phase One Studios in Scarborough, Ontario. The album includes the songs Paradise Skies, Carmonium, Night Flights, Sun Voices, Moon Voices, A Million Vacations, Look Out, Let Go the Line, Rascal Hootie, and Research parentheses at Beach Resorts close parentheses, and was performed by Dave Miles on bass, Dick Smith on congas and shakers, Gary McCracken on drums, percussion, and vocals, Kim Mitchell on guitar and lead vocals, and Terry Watkinson on keyboards and vocals. The next album released by Max Webster in 1980 was called Universal Juveniles, and the last track on side 1 of Universal Juveniles was called Battle Scar. Battle Scar featured the same lineup of Dave Miles, Gary McCracken, Kim Mitchell, and Terry Watkinson of Max Webster, but also included guest artists Geddy Lee on bass, Neil Peart on drums, and Alex Lifeson on guitar, better known as Rush. I sincerely hope this is better. Plus, Live at the Lighthouse by Grant Green, For Every Man by Jackson Browne, even Private Dancer by Tina Turner. I somehow mentioned Tina Turner's Private Dancer album without pointing out a fact that I love to point out whenever I mention this album. The song Private Dancer, its chorus is a dead ringer for another Mark Knopfler penned song, Love Over Gold by Dire Straits.
You're private dancer, a dancer for money. Do what you want me to do. It takes love over gold and mind over matter to do what you do.
Yes, I know this isn't a correction. I just wished I'd mentioned it.
When I was young, I remember being both haunted and intrigued by I'm Not in Love on the radio. Then had the same reaction to Cry almost 10 years later, but didn't make the connections with 10cc until about 20 years ago.
John didn't say anything erroneous here, but the thing is, I struggled long and hard about whether to insert a joke at this point, and rarely do I pass up the opportunity to insert a joke. I eventually decided that it would disrupt his flow too much, so I left it out. But here's what I was tempted to do.
When I was young, I remember being both haunted and intrigued by I'm Not in Love on the radio. Then had the same reaction to Cry almost 10 years later, but didn't make the connections with 10cc until about 20 years ago.
Prize of international feel called La File Internationale. I mispronounced it. It's Le File Internationale, not La File Internationale. And if you need a new instrument, he can help you with that too. So I mentioned that you could buy an instrument from Sean, but I didn't mention why and how that's possible. Sean manages a music and arts location here in town. Thank you for your patience and attention as I go through these corrections. I hope you continue watching my show, and I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. See you soon.